Thank you, Ken. So we are continuing our journey, our odyssey through the Gospel of John. In these weeks, we're focusing on the resurrection of Lazarus. So I'll be reading from John chapter 11, verse 17. I only need these to read, so now I can't see any of you. No, not really. Anyway, when Jesus arrived at Bethany, he was told that Lazarus had already been in his grave for 4 days. Bethany was only a few miles down the road from Jerusalem, and many of the people had come to console Martha and Mary in their loss. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus told her, "Your brother will rise again." "Yes," Martha said, "he will rise when everyone else rises at the last day." Jesus told her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even after dying. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never, ever die." "Do you believe this, Martha?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I've always believed that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who has come into the world from God." So the Gospel of John is organized around 7 major miracles, 7 major I am statements. This contains one of the I am statements of John around the halfway point of the Gospel. I am the resurrection and the life, a monumental declaration. So I'd like to look at some different aspects of this declaration, this I am statement. To begin with, I'd like to focus on some of the practical effects that this declaration had for his ministry, some of the political implications. So, as we heard in detail last week from Duncan, they had wanted to stone Jesus in Jerusalem. We were told that in verse 8 of John 11. And the disciples are terrified that if they go south, if they go to the power center of the country, to the capital of Israel, that they will all be killed, that there will be a mass execution if they go to Judea. But Jesus is adamant that they are not going there to die. They are going there to bring about new life. Now, as we're going to see, in John 14:30, Jesus will say that Satan is the prince of this world. The devil is the ruler of this world, or the prince of the air, Paul says. And we know from John 8:44 that the devil was a murderer from the beginning. Satan was a murderer from the start. So the power of this world is the power to kill. Thomas was right to be worried. As we read in verse 16 last week, and I have it up, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, said to the disciples, "Let's go to and die with Jesus." We're all just going to be executed, he thinks. The powers of this world have been relentlessly plotting Jesus' death. In fact, toward the beginning of his ministry, in John 5:18, which I also have up, we read, the Jewish leaders tried all the harder to find a way to kill him. They'd been trying to kill him from day one. And all the way back in chapter 5, they're trying all the harder to figure out how to make this guy dead. Throughout Jesus' ministry, in all 4 Gospels, we're constantly reminded that Jesus had a target on his back. The powers and authorities of this world wanted him dead. There's almost a title for Jesus in John 7. this is the man they're trying to kill. Who's Jesus? Who's that guy? The one they want dead. Oh yeah, I know. I know the one. The one they're trying to kill. In Luke 4, they take Jesus to the top of a cliff to throw him off, and he slips away. But then we have the stoning that Thomas actually refers to. It occurred in chapter 8. They picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus slipped away and left the temple. So as Thomas said, yes, that stoning attempt occurred in Jerusalem. It occurred in the temple. They were seeking to pick up the stones of the temple, the sacrificial stones, the stones of the courts and the altars, and use those to pummel Jesus to death. It's an incredibly bloody and painful way to murder someone, to stone them, to pelt them with stones. Again, Thomas was right to be worried. He was right to be terrified. We never stop getting reminded of this. Jesus' life was in intense danger. The story of his ministry is very similar to the story of a lot of people today, that the powers of this world seek relentlessly to kill, right? Like Alexei Navalny, who was killed by Vladimir Putin, or Mohammed bin Salman, who killed the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. These were ordinary men who got in the way of powerful interests. They were murdered. The best example of all is John the Baptist, who Jesus says was the greatest of all the prophets. He said something that the king didn't want to hear. He said something the king wanted him to stop saying. So he got his head chopped off. The power of this world is the power of death. It's the power to murder. And in the midst of this world, in the midst of this suffering, Jesus says, your brother will rise again. I am the resurrection. And this is a direct challenge to the power structures of this world. The worst thing Jesus could do would be to raise someone from the dead, because that means that the power of this world is powerless. It means that Satan has been disarmed. The whole point of killing someone is for them to stay dead. When King Herod was worried that John the Baptist had risen from the dead, he was terrified, right? You know, Mohammed bin Salman killed Jamal Khashoggi so he would stop writing articles about what's happening in Saudi Arabia. If the dead don't stay dead, then the world's power structure has fallen. The one weapon it has no effect. The kingdom of Satan has been defeated. And so, how do the powers of this world respond to Jesus' declaration? What do the rulers do when they hear that Jesus is the resurrection? Very simple, very obvious. We already know. Then the leading priest decided to kill Lazarus too, for it was because of him that many people had deserted them and believed in Jesus. It's not a person who dies, but worlds die inside us. Since well before chapter 5, all they've been trying to do is kill Jesus, whether by stoning, by throwing him off a cliff, whatever they can do. And now, it's not going so well. What's the next step? Add more people to the kill list. All right, we'll kill more people. Let's kill Lazarus too. A peasant, a nobody, an innocent man. He'd done nothing wrong. Okay, the rulers wake up in the morning, think, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to find this poor defenseless guy. We're going to tear him from the arms of his sisters. We're going to kill him. He's in the way. He's in the way of what we're doing. He was dead. He needs to stay dead. That's what we do. We're going to make it happen. Satan is the prince of this world, and he was a murderer from the start. The power of this world is the power to kill. And the same dynamic continues in the world today. I've got a quote from Goran Thurborn, emeritus professor at Cambridge. The wars waged by the United States since 9/11 have directly killed more than 900,000 people at the cost of 15,000 US lives. Indirect deaths from famine and displacement, of course, are in the millions. And so we have the relatively new head of defense, Pete Hegseth, who has repeatedly said, improving lethality, warfighting, and readiness is his main line of effort. He has said the biggest problem with the defense forces is their lack of lethality. We must revive our defense to be the most lethal force in this world. You know, the people at the levers of power, they say this stuff way better than I ever could. They spell it out so clearly. All we need to do is pay attention. We've killed 900,000 people. It's nowhere near enough. We need to murder millions. We need to kill them all. Who? Doesn't matter. Why? No reason. We do it for the sake of killing. This is the world we live in. The power of this world is the power of death. And so this is the politics of Jesus being the resurrection and the life. It is a direct confrontation with the power structures of this world. He has disarmed the rulers and authorities of this world by rendering death powerless, by making death meaningless. And that makes them furious. That makes them want to kill more, because it's all they've got. It's the only page in the book. The kingdom of Satan and the kingdom of God are in direct conflict. One is on the side of life, but Satan just wants to steal, kill, and destroy. Everyone who is on the side of life, the fullness of life, life eternal, belongs to God's kingdom and stands with Christ. Everyone who is on the side of death and wields the power of murder belongs to the kingdom of Satan. Jesus calls them sons of Satan. The conflict rages on, but resurrection power will win. Christ will be victorious. Now, I would like to finish by looking at some of the more personal implications of Jesus being the resurrection and the life. I want to look at how it changes our identity, what it means to be human. I'd like to explore this by taking a bit of a dive into a quote from Blade Runner. So this is a science fiction film from back in the 80s, and this will be the final, if the clip works, this will be the final words of the villain of the movie. And he's someone who's been spending his life working in outer space and building spaceships, because it's like a science fiction movie. So let's see what he has to say. Could we play the video?
seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
I've seen attack ships on fire at the belt of Orion. All these moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. It's only a couple of lines. It's only 42 words, actually. But it's widely seen as the greatest death monologue in all of cinema history. I think the reason that that speech is so famous, so quoted, so well known, is because it perfectly captures the human condition. Somehow, Rutger Hauer, Shakespearean actor, he improvised those lines, and he perfectly summed up what it means to be human. All we are, all our achievements get enveloped by death. Death has the final word. We live our life toward oblivion. Death makes life meaningless. And so to be human is to grind down toward death, toward nothingness. In the end, our tears wipe away all the meaning that our life would have had. And we can see in John 11 how Jesus would have responded to this notion, this definition of being human. Jesus would say, no. No. That's not right at all. To say that our life will be washed away like tears in rain is the perfect description of life apart from God. But through Christ, life is lived toward eternity. Death doesn't have the final word. Death doesn't swallow up life. Death is swallowed up in victory. And this transforms who we are. It transforms what it means to be human, our identity. God responds at the end of the Bible in Revelation 21. God will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death. This is the exact opposite of the tears in rain monologue. I don't know if Rutger Hauer intended that. It's the opposite of that human insight. In the Blade Runner quote, our tears wash away all we are into oblivion. But in Revelation it says, God will wipe away our tears. Our tears will have no power. Our tears won't have the final say. God replaces them with eternal life. To be raised from death, it doesn't just transform our future, our destiny. It rewrites our identity. It transforms what it means to be human. Thank you.